One kiss, and the whole of Nigeria held its breath. It wasn't just love, it was war dressed in passion. It was in April of 2023, the time when Lagos traffic felt like the city's heartbeat, pulsing with both chaos and charm. But what happened that month wasn't just unusual. It was a scandal that rippled from the streets of Lekki to the royal courts of Ibadan. A kiss. A single, stolen kiss. Posted. Liked. Shared. And suddenly, a centuries-old tribal feud was reignited, all over a love that should never have been. The time it happened, they weren't supposed to meet. Amaka Okeke was the only daughter of Chief Igbo Okeke, the powerful Igbo businessman known for his fierce pride, political connections, and his no-nonsense belief in preserving Igbo heritage. She had just turned 25. A fashion designer with over 80K followers on Instagram and a rapidly growing TikTok audience. Her brand was vibrant, Afrofuturistic, loud, unapologetic. Her life? Carefully curated. She didn't believe in village love. She once told a friend, "If love doesn't come with Wi-Fi and freedom, I don't want it." Then came Deolu Olayemi, a quiet 27-year-old music producer with dreadlocks, dimples, and a voice that could melt concrete. What most didn't know was that Deolu was royalty, the first son of Oba Femi Olayemi, a revered Yoruba king in Ibadan. He had walked away from the throne, choosing the city life, the beats, and the dream. But tradition doesn't forget, and kings don't forgive. They met at a rooftop Afrofusion mixer in Lekki, a collaboration between Amaka's fashion line and Deolu's indie label. From the moment they locked eyes, there was static. It wasn't just attraction. It was the kind of cosmic connection that short-circuits your sense of caution. They talked all night. They talked like they had known each other in a different life. Maybe as rebels, maybe as soulmates. 2 weeks later, a video went live. Amaka had posted it. It was soft, slow-motion footage. Her head on his shoulder, laughter, lips brushing, then the kiss. Background music? A track Deolu had made just for her. By midnight, the video hit 100,000 views. By morning, the world had opinions. One comment read, "An Igbo princess kissing a Yoruba prince? The ancestors are crying." Another one, "She's breaking her lineage. He's risking his crown." For what? For vibes. But the true chaos came not from strangers, but from home. At dawn, Chief Okeke stormed into Amaka's apartment. No warning, no words, just a newspaper on her table with the headline, "Royal Shame in Lagos. Igbo designer and Yoruba prince ignite tribal controversy." He didn't raise his voice. That was the scary part. He simply said, "You've broken something sacred, Amaka. You will marry Chikwudi." End of story. She hadn't spoken to Chikwudi in 3 years. Their marriage had been arranged since she was 17, a deal between two wealthy families. She hated him. He once laughed when she said she wanted to work. Meanwhile, in Ibadan, Deolu was summoned to the palace. Not invited, summoned. He stood before the council of elders, barefoot, humiliated. The Oba's voice thundered, "She's not from our people. You will marry Adizwa before the next new moon, or you'll lose everything." Adizwa, the perfect Yoruba bride. Groomed, gracious, royal by blood, and secretly in love with Deolu since they were kids. But the story doesn't stop there, because someone had been watching. A week later, a private love letter written by Deolu to Amaka surfaced on Nigerian, a scandal blog. "When I kiss you, I feel like I'm betraying 100 years of tradition. But I'd rather be cursed for love than praised for duty." The post went viral. It included screenshots of text messages, private photos, voice notes. Only 3 people had access to that letter: Amaka, Deolu, and Lami, Amaka's best friend and assistant. That's when the inconsistencies started. Lami swore she never leaked it, but her recent purchase of a brand new iPhone 14 raised questions. And the anonymous bank deposit in her account from an unknown sender? Even worse, a blurry CCTV still appeared on Twitter. It showed a woman, in Lami's signature purple braids, slipping an envelope under Chikwidi's car windshield at 2 a.m. Amaka was heartbroken, not just by betrayal, but by what came next. Deolu disappeared. No calls.
No texts. No beats.
Nothing. Just a cryptic message posted to his Instagram story. Sometimes, to protect what you love, you must become what you hate. She searched for him. She even went to Ibadan, but the gates of the palace stayed shut. Rumors spread. Some said he agreed to marry Adizwa. Others claimed he'd been sent away to a sacred forest for spiritual cleansing. Then, 2 months later, on what was supposed to be Amaka's engagement day to Chikwudi, a package arrived at her boutique. No return address. No note. Just a flash drive. She plugged it in, and what she saw changed everything. Inside the drive was a video, footage from inside the palace. Footage of Deolu, in chains, sitting on a dirt floor, eyes bloodshot, lips cracked. He whispered something. The sound was weak but clear. They lied. I never left you. Don't trust anyone, not even Lami. Then the screen went black. The time happened. The rain wouldn't stop falling in Lagos. Heavy, relentless. The kind of rain that felt like a warning. It was the day Amaka opened that flash drive. And everything she thought she knew about loyalty, love, and even her own bloodline began to unravel. Deolu was alive, but barely.
Chained. Dirty.
Hidden somewhere behind the walls of a palace meant to honor him. His words echoed in Amaka's mind like a curse. They lied. I never left you. Don't trust anyone, not even Lami.
Lami.
Her best friend. Her sister. Her shadow. The one who wiped her tears the night Deolu disappeared. The one who poured her tea and whispered, "He's not worth the pain."
But now...
Amaka's heart pounded as she opened Lami's phone while she was in the shower. It took just 2 tries to guess her passcode. Amaka knew her better than anyone. Inside, a message thread with Chikwudi. You promised I'd get the 2 million before the wedding. I held up my end. Don't mess me up, Chucks. Amaka's chest went cold. She scrolled. Voice notes. Photos. The love letter. Everything. It was Lami. The betrayal cut deeper than a knife. But there was something else, something worse. A scanned medical document. A DNA test. 2 names listed. Igbo Okeke, Amaka's father.
Deolu Olayemi.
Result, 49.8% genetic match. Amaka dropped the phone.
Her head spun.
What did that mean? Why would her father be genetically linked to Deolu? She confronted Lami.
No yelling.
Just 2 women. 2 secrets. And when Lami spoke, it was like peeling back the skin of Lagos itself. They weren't supposed to fall in love. Not again. What are you talking about? Amaka demanded. Lami sat down, shaking, crying, but not from guilt, from fear. Your mother. She was in love with Deola's father before she married your dad. Wait. Obafemi, the king.
Yes.
But it wasn't allowed. She was Igbo. He was Yoruba. They split her from him, forced her into your father's arms. And you, Amaka, you weren't born just into a feud. You were born from its ashes. Amaka's knees gave out. If what Lami said was true, if Deolu was Obafemi's first son, and her mother was his first love, then what were they? Star-crossed lovers. Or half-siblings. But Lami wasn't done. That's why they're keeping him hidden. If the truth comes out, if the kingdom finds out that the crown prince is in love with a woman who might be his blood, they'll destroy him. Not exile. Not disgrace. Ritual death. Amaka's voice broke. But the DNA, 49.8%, isn't enough to confirm siblings, right? Lami looked her in the eye. There's more, but they won't let you see it. Unless... She paused, then said something that made Amaka question everything. Unless you go to the shrine of Ogboni. That night, Amaka ran. Not from fear, but toward it. She wore a simple wrapper, beads on her wrist, and a scarf tied low to hide her identity. The directions were hidden in an old journal her mother had left behind years ago. She entered the sacred grove near Badagry, where the Ogboni elders still held power older than kings. The air smelled of firewood and iron. A priestess stepped out. "You're the daughter of the betrayed. You seek the truth." Amaka nodded. Her lips trembled. "Then offer your blood and kneel. We do not lie here. Only the ancestors speak." Meanwhile, back in Ibadan, a palace guard snuck into the forbidden chambers. He carried a small device wrapped in goat skin. He slipped it under the mat where Deolu lay, whispered into the dark. "She knows. The girl knows. But they're watching her." Then left. Deolu opened his swollen eyes. He reached for the device. A phone.
Nusim.
But one video loaded. A clip. Amaka. In the shrine. Eyes closed. Praying. And behind her, a masked man in red, raising a blade. The time it happened, the wind in Badagry whispered warnings. Not just to Amaka, but to the ancestors. The shrine of Agboni stood still, sacred and ominous. She wasn't just searching for the truth about her love. She was walking straight into a legacy of secrets, betrayal, and blood. Amaka's hand trembled as she sliced her palm with a ritual blade. She pressed it into the red earth as the priestess chanted. The wind howled. Show her what was hidden. Reveal what was erased. The fire flared, and then the visions came. She saw her mother, Nena, younger, beautiful, laughing beside a man in royal Yoruba attire.
Obafemme.
They danced in secret, their fingers entwined by moonlight, far from the eyes of both their tribes. Then, a betrayal. Nena's father dragged her away. The Oba's guards stormed the hut. A baby cried in the distance. But it wasn't Amaka. It was a son, her mother's first child, born from that forbidden love.
Hidden.
Taken. Raised by another family. Amaka's breath caught in her throat. "It wasn't Deolu," the priestess whispered. "Your mother's first child died in infancy. The Oba married another. You and Deolu, you are not of the same blood. Your love is real, but it came from ashes, not sin." Amaka collapsed in tears. It wasn't over, but the curse that hovered over her heart was broken. Back in Ibadan, Deolu stood on the palace balcony, shackles gone. He was bruised, but awake. Adizwa had released him. "I loved you, Deolu," she said, "but I won't force a crown on a heart that belongs elsewhere." She handed him his phone and a single sentence. "She's alive. Go to her." The next 48 hours moved like thunder. Amaka raced back to Lagos. Deolu took the first bus to the city, wearing torn native trousers and a dusty white shirt. Neither knew where the other was going, until, under the Freedom Park archway in the center of Lagos Island, they met. In the rain. Again. Just like the first time. The city didn't stop. But they did. She ran to him.
No hesitation.
He pulled her into his arms. No words. Just the feeling of finding home. 6 months later, the sun shone bright on a rooftop in Lekki. This time, not for a scandal, but for a wedding.
Small.
Private. A fusion of cultures.
Igbo rappers met Yoruba beats.
Palm wine met jollof. Chief Okeke stood at the edge. Silent. He didn't smile, but he nodded. Once. And for Amaka, that was enough. Oba Femi watched from a live stream, exiled from his own emotions. But he too whispered, "Let them have what I lost." Amaka and Deolu didn't promise forever. They promised honesty, and freedom, and love that would not hide behind culture or shame or hashtags. Because their love was never unreal. It was simply ahead of its time. The end. If you thought this love story was intense, just wait. There's more where that came from. Hit that subscribe button, follow for the next twist, and join us on the journey where love, legacy, and secrets collide.